Hi, everyone. Lisa and Dan here from Fireside Strategic. We're on a mission to help business leaders achieve great results through human-centered strategy. We believe that businesses don't need to choose between investing in their humans and generating profit because it's humans that create profit. In the Fireside Chat series, we're showcasing how leaders are transcending the challenges of the COVID-19 crisis and more broadly, unite strategic and human thinking and leadership. Today, we're excited to chat with Paul Neuman, founder and chief inspiration officer of Neuman's Kitchen. Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Lisa, Dan, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Would you mind telling our audience a little bit about yourself, about your story of how you got here?
Sure. So we started Neuman's Kitchen 40 years ago as Neuman and Bogdanoff, a retail store. 1981. We ran that. That was on 3rd Avenue between 78th and 79th Streets in Manhattan. Ran that for 15 years. 1996, we pivoted, a very popular new word, right? We pivoted from retail to catering only. Spent almost 20 years on Christie Street, Lower Manhattan, the Lower East Side. Watched it go from derelict neighborhood to high-rise hotels and luxury apartments. And during that transition, the last few years, being a manufacturing company, essentially, and a service company, our real estate became worth more to other people than we could afford to pay. So we got a buyout on our lease, and we moved to Long Island City a little over 4 years ago. Focus of the business has always been catering, and catering is corporate catering, private catering, storytelling, if you will. Our job is to help our clients tell their stories using our inspired food. And that's what we've done, whether we're in retail or more recently in catering. 2 months ago, catering business essentially, as we know it, disappeared. And we have, again, I'll go back to the word pivot, which is not one of my favorite words right now, but we pivoted the business to meal delivery at home and to emergency feeding. So we are providing food to National Guard troops who are here helping keep us safe, and to hospitals, to emergency workers at hospitals and emergency room people. And that's been our business for 2 months. And we're now looking over the horizon and trying to figure out how to be that people-centric company that helps inspire and deliver food that makes people happy.
Wow, that's a very powerful, impactful story. Love the fact that you're helping our really, really vitally important service workers at this difficult time. Curious if you could break down for us this process of how you pivoted, because so many CEOs right now need to change what they're doing. They need to change their strategy. If you were to break down a little bit, like, well, what's the first step that you would suggest to other people who absolutely, like tomorrow, need to pivot their businesses?
I think the most critical thing to do is to do a capabilities assessment for your business. What are we good at? And who doesn't need us now and who may need us tomorrow or 3 months from now. So we looked at what we do and what we love. We make food, we deliver food, we provide service, we make people happy. We used to do it for 500 people at a time, and now we're doing it for a family at a time. So our core competencies are making and delivering food. Our audience has completely changed. Our values are intact. We still believe the same things we believed. We pursue everything we do with the same commitment and excellence. I have to say that I'm incredibly proud of the food we make. It's different. It's the same formula, right? You still put it in your mouth, but it's reformatted for a new audience. And that pride that we have, or I have, in the food that we share, that's at the core of any success we will realize. It all starts with commitment. I always say this: you really first have to be committed to yourself and being an excellent person, and then you can commit yourself to be joining an excellent company, to be part of an excellent community, to be part of an excellent world. So it's a personal commitment that starts everything, and we're always looking for people who have that first commitment to themselves.
Love that. It's so easy to focus on strategy and external things. I think as an entrepreneurial culture, we're obsessed with what can we do? Because we all want to look for the latest hack, the latest trick to do business more effectively. But sometimes when we think that way, we're overly focused on the strategy, on the external stuff, and we forget about the people, and we forget that business fundamentally is about people.
Right. And not only that, I think there are a lot of mistakes we can make in a moment like this. One is waiting for our product to be perfect before we launch it. And I think that one of the things we did is we furloughed the company on March 12th. That was a Thursday. And on March 25th, we launched the new company. Now, that was a ridiculously short period of time to launch a new company. But what we said to ourselves is it's more important to get it out there and get feedback on it than it is to worry about getting it perfect, waiting another 2 or 3 weeks, right? So we felt like as long as we could commit to the quality of the product and the service, the most important thing we could do was get it out and hear what people said rather than waiting to work in a vacuum and not hear anything about it.
That is so smart. And I'm so impressed at how quickly you were able to turn around. And you're absolutely right. Not getting stuck in perfectionism is really the only way to move forward.
Right. There's a lot of self-limiting beliefs that we have as individuals. And one of the things that is true of every company in the world is it's sort of an externalization of the personal abilities and limitations of its founders and the people at the top. So, like, my company is great at some things, the things I'm good at, the things I'm not as good at. I either have people who do those things better or the company doesn't do that well. My wife's a psychologist, and one of her expressions is, the COVID-19 crisis is like Miracle Grow for your neuroses, right? It's like whatever is weird about you or your relationship, it's getting magnified. The business corollary of that is that COVID-19 is going to shine a spotlight on the company's weaknesses, right? Whatever you're good at, you're going to be good at. Whatever you're weak at, whatever the weaknesses in your structure, your company, the personnel, it's like magnified. So this is a time when weak companies will disappear. Strong companies who have weaknesses will either shore up those weaknesses or get weaker, because in good times, we may paper over some issues that we should be dealing with that we don't deal with. And now it's like, boom, that problem is magnified.
Yeah, so agree. And not just, I think, the weaknesses of the company come to light in moments like this, but as you said, the weaknesses of the founders, the key people, right? And so I'm curious, and you were talking about the fact that you've, in some cases where you feel you have a weakness, you have others that can help address those issues. Are there weaknesses that you feel you've transcended? And if so, either through outsourcing or just through your own growth? And I'd be curious to know what those might be and how you transcended those.
Well, I'm an emotional, inspirational leader, right? I'm an idea person. I have more ideas than I know what to do with, and some of them are actually good. They're not all good, but it's up to me and other people to sort through and get the good ones. What I'm not good at is supervision, and I'm not good at holding people accountable. So I have a really strong financial person here. What I don't have is a COO partner co-leader. In the parlance of EOS, it's visionary and integrator. I'm a really natural visionary. Like it doesn't scare me, but I'm amused sometimes at the number of ideas that I can come up with, and people look at me like, that's a weird one, but I kind of like this part of it. And I'm not as good at supervision and administration. So the fact that we need a COO now is more glaring than it was before.
I love how introspective you are. It's really impressive. I want to change gears really just briefly. You made this big pivot. I know we don't love that word a couple of months ago. How has it been going? You've been able to test this model, refine it, try out new products for, a little over 1 day, over 2 months now. How are you tracking?
We're tracking well. The feedback and the repeat orders is terrific. We're figuring out the marketing and trying to get it out to more people. So we're creating a referral program so the people who love it can refer to a friend and get a discount. The marketing side of it, we're still working on. We trust the product. We know that for the right audience, we will become a habit. Once you've had the food, you'll order it once a week, once every 2 weeks. But figuring out who that audience is, we're watching who's ordering and trying to figure out how to get more of those people. So it's right now we've gone from an operational and logistical issue to a marketing and awareness issue.
Understood. I love how you use psychology to assess yourself and your team. But when you just talked about your audience, it's clear that the way that you lead, you also understand the psychology of your customer. The fact that you said we become a habit. That's such a powerful way to sell to people. The moment you become a habit, they become a recurring customer.
Right.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about this process of understanding your customer psychology.
Well, one of the things, as a catering company, we're relationship driven. We're not transaction driven, right? We'd rather do 5 transactions and make a little bit of money over a longer period of time than have one big transaction where there's no relationship built. We're taking the same approach with at home. And we don't really want customers, we want community members, right? We want people who feel like they're part of something bigger, that the food is just the means by which we're interacting. We have a long ways to go to achieve that, but we're taking a very personal approach. So when you place an order, someone gets back to you, says, thank you for your order. There's a response. We're trying to build a connection between the company and the community member. The things we want to do that we haven't rolled out yet are about teaching cooking and integrating food in a larger sense and making people want to come to us to learn something, do something, engage with us, not just buy food, but feel like we're sort of like part of their family. So that's the goal, is really to embed ourselves in people's lives today and tomorrow. While this product and service was launched under the duress of COVID-19, we believe that 5 years from now, the clients we have will be part of the company fabric, and that we will engage them in emotional ways, make emotional connections using food, because ultimately food is as intimate as anything you can buy. We actually consume it, right? You wear clothes, but you consume food. You're trusting the person who makes your food to put something in your body. And that's a very, very intimate act and an emotional act. So we want people to feel something about us, not to just think something about us.
I think that's incredible. And the fact that you are, seeing this as a long-term strategy. Would you mind telling us a little bit more, once COVID is hopefully soon over, what are some of your broader goals? How are you going to integrate what you used to be and what you've become today into one coherent company strategy?
Right. So the way we look at what's happened is our house burned down in the middle of an earthquake, right? So the foundation is gone and the structure of the house is gone. So now we have to rebuild the house. And what At Home with Neuman's Kitchen is a section of the house. The house is going to be different. We can't exactly predict what it's going to look like, but we do know that we can build this new structure and it will occupy part of the foundation. The rest of the foundation will be built as opportunities become available. And when I say that, the outreach we're doing to our existing clients is letting us know that the old business will return in some form in a minuscule fraction of what it was, so that there is no hoping that in 3 months or 6 months, the business we knew will be back. So we've got to find new ways to reach, to take what we do, go back to our core competencies, and help someone communicate with an audience that didn't used to do that. And I'll give you an example. We're hoping that the construction industry will want to feed their workers to keep them from going to the local pizza place or the local deli, to keep the workplace secure and free of contamination. So it's like right now I go from one quarantine at home to another quarantine at work, right? And it's like a pair of dumbbells. So I live here and I live here, and then I go between and I do nothing else. We're anticipating, and we don't know if this is true, that people running construction sites are more concerned about having a COVID outbreak at the job site than they are at the cost of spending a little bit of money to keep those construction workers on the job site. So this is a segment of the market that didn't exist. We don't know if it will exist. We don't know if we're trying to create something just because we are optimists, but this is one chance we're trying to reinvent the industry for a segment where for $12 or $15 or $20 a day, that job site won't be shut down because of a COVID outbreak. And again, we don't know, because traditionally they don't pay for food for construction workers, right? They lunch pail it, or they go out and they spend their half an hour online at the local pizza place or buying a $6 sandwich, and that's historically what it's been. So we're trying to imagine where will the world be. We can't send out a single meal to your home or a single meal to an office. That's the area for us.
Sorry, Paul, we can't hear you.
I think we may have lost the audio. Hold on a moment.
No.
Yeah, you're good now. You're back. Yeah,
Okay.
you're back.
So we're trying to find new places. We're trying to find places where people have not traditionally thought of what we do as fitting into their world, but their world is now so different and our world is now so different. So we're trying to figure it out.
Well, one of the massive impacts of all this has been, as a society, as a species, I think our relationship with food is changing. So there's so many ways in which I've been watching myself over the past little while, dealing with a few stomach issues and having to change how and what I eat very, very significantly in a short amount of time.
Really? Yeah.
And if you watch yourself, sometimes you don't even know why you're eating. If you can really start to pay attention to your own habits, right? Really what you want to be doing, Paul, you want to be creating new habits in industries and groups of people. And so one of the great opportunities for you in this moment is that as a species, I think many of us are starting to rethink our relationship with food. There's a canvas for you to paint on.
That's right. And I'm cooking. My wife and I traditionally go out for dinner, actually go out to dinner once or twice a week, let's say. But we'd order in the rest of the time. And now we're cooking 5-6 nights a week. And it takes about 15 minutes. And we're eating better and healthier. We feel better. And we are spending so much less money than we spent, right? Karen's a psychologist. She walks to her office on 79th and Madison, and she spends $100 a week on coffee and bagels, right? Like, she's not spending that now. And it's amazing. You bring up a great point. What habits will we keep that we never thought we'd keep, right? How is our life going to change? Will Karen and I be cooking 3 or 4 nights a week? Maybe. It's so easy, right? And like, the fact that I know how to cook means nothing. What we're cooking, it has nothing to do with my cooking skills, right? It has to do with just putting great food on the table in 20 minutes. And that's not going away. And we're examining we think real estate's going to change completely, because whatever, if 100% of people are working remotely now, office space is going to shrink. People will say, you know what? I never liked having people work remotely, but they're really productive. And by the way, some of them are super productive. So let's just let them go. We don't need, so let's shrink our office space. And by the way, we don't need as many meetings. We don't need as many conferences. And we maybe don't need that cafeteria, because the cafeterias are all getting shut down until there's a vaccine, I think. So these large corporations with cafeterias are going to have to go to box meals, because they don't want people congregating. So a lot of habits are going to change.
There's a really interesting Japanese idea. There's two ways that people grow fundamentally. There's kensho and satori. So most of the time we grow through kensho. We go through life punching us in the mouth somehow. And what's happening is we've all been punched in the mouth collectively at one time, right? So
unbelievable.
This sort of small, I get 1% better every day through very deliberate practice. That's rare. Most people aren't growing that way. Generally, people grow through a wake-up call, right? And so as a society, we've had one big one.
An unimaginable one. At the beginning of this, people said, oh, you've been through 9/11 and you've been through the financial meltdown. And it's like, no, you don't understand, right? Those were ripples in a pond. This is literally a tsunami. Like, I don't care what I've been through. I've gotten punched in the mouth. I just had a block of cement dropped on my head, like literally. And the degree of challenge now around the world, there've never been this many people on the planet. Therefore, nothing has ever affected this many people before. The flip side of that is, I don't believe that human intellect has ever been deployed to solve a problem at this scale. I think more people, more brilliant people, and computer time is being devoted to the solution of this issue than on any issue that's ever existed in the history of the planet. So we have massive amounts of problem solvers approaching the solution, because there is probably a pot of gold, but many of them are motivated by the fact that they want to be the one that solved it for somewhat altruistic reasons, right? The companies may want the money, but the people whose hearts are in solving this are saying, we've got to figure this out. This is a threat to the world, and I want to be among the team that solves it. So never has there been a challenge of this scale, and I don't think there's ever been an effort of this level and scale and scope of intellectual effort to solve a single problem.
I love how you're able to focus on kind of the silver lining, and it's such a thick silver lining that we really are rebuilding.
Yeah, and the companies that survive will be the most resilient, right? The ones who didn't go for a single solution, but said, I know what my core competencies are. I know what we do well. I know I have highly motivated people. Let me keep them close. We know we're going to lose money. Can we lose less money than we have, right? Can we stay alive and get to the other side? And as the phone rings, make sure we're listening, not just for what that client needs, but what does that client represent? What class of demand is that? And if someone's calling up and I need dinner for one, it's like, we're not the right company. I need dinner for 1,000. Okay, how often? What industry? Fine. Maybe we hang up the phone, we try to get that piece of business, and then we say, let's go there. Let's find out who else needs that.
I think it's very smart, very smart. And I love your focus on the core values too.
Yeah, it comes down to core values. This week I was on a webinar, and I've had it up to here with webinars, and I've had it up to here with Zoom calls. I'm like, oh my God, really? Is there another one of these? But somebody said something interesting, and it was, their attitude is win the day, right? Just win the day. very narrow, it's very focused, it's very immediate. And we have a safety meeting every day in the kitchen to just review gloves, masks, distance, right? That's what we do. And I finished the meeting today and I said, whatever we do, let's just win the day. Let's just win today. That's all we can focus on. Let's not worry about tomorrow. We focus on winning today. Tomorrow, let's focus on winning tomorrow. And next week, we'll worry about winning Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because we don't know. We can't do much more than that right now, but we can win the day.
Wonderful, wonderful note, I think, to start to bring us to a close, Paul. One of the last questions that we like to ask people, and we always have these serious conversations about what businesses can do in this tricky moment, but we like to bring in a lighter note too and ask, even though it's a tricky, serious moment, what are you doing for fun these days? What's keeping you entertained amidst all of this?
Spending time with my wife and my grandchild. And I make art on the weekends, and I ride my bicycle on the weekends, and I exercise during the week, and I cook, and it's like that's not win the day, that's win the moment, right? That's just like win 5 minutes of something you like. And I am lucky in that I go home to an apartment I like and a wife I love, and we're very comfortable and happy, and that's, for me, that's winning the evening.
It's beautiful. Well, sounds like you're really making the best of this situation, truly. Well, look, Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. I can't even express how much fun I had talking to you. Your insights are very deep, both from this human, vulnerable perspective, but also from a business strategy perspective. And we're sure that our audience got a lot from this as well. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. It was my pleasure. And stay safe and be well and win the day.
So far, so good.
Okay.
Indeed.
Bye-bye.